COVID, they felt they were left out, and some did not even bother. And that shows we're also not doing well as an engineering institution for this special group. Conclusion and recommendation, wake-up call to every one of us. Generation Z is here. We have special needs. We need, we are the digital natives. We are born during digital environments. We are technology oriented. And in most presentation we had is innovation is a driver to development in Africa. Most Generation Z are here when it comes to innovation, but do we have the infrastructure? Do we have the policies to ensure that young engineers, yesterday there was the presentation with Telco Ethiopia. They have done so much in IT, in construction. That's where the young engineers want to be. And most of them are not conservatives. I'm sure you've seen this in the office, the procedures, the steps, how you have to follow. They want to know, what do you want me to do? If I do in 30 minutes, that is fine. This is something we have to focus on if we want to have young engineers on board. The shift in working condition preference, this is also very important because if I'm just doing a progress report, some will say I don't have to sit in the office. I'll send you via WhatsApp, via email, and send to any other team member. This is very important to note, and we have to be aware of that. Mental health is critical among young people. For so many years, it was never discussed, especially amongst young engineers. Now this is a conversation that you need to begin. There is need for inclusion of young engineers to accelerate sustainable infrastructure development in Africa. Inclusion, just like we've been told for women, it is very important if we want to have sustainable development in Africa. These are the committee members that we had for the COVID-19 survey from various countries. And for the next survey, I wish we can have for all countries, you know, at least one member represented. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and I'm sorry if I rushed you. It's just because the two young engineers we wanted to present in front of our minister. Now we'll go to the second and the last one, then we'll be going to coffee. How green are Nairobi's green walls? A review of Nairobi's expressway green walls, which is going to be presented by Charity Amani Kabari. She is a civil engineering student at the University of Nairobi and a student representative of the Institute of Engineering in Kenya, and she's the Vice Academic Secretary of the Engineering Students Association. Please welcome Amani to the podium.
Her Excellency, the Minister for Labor, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and all protocols observed, good afternoon. As he has said, well, my name is Amani Kabare, and today I'm here to talk about an innovation project. Just as Doreen mentioned, I am from the Generation Z that she was mentioning, and today we shall be speaking about greening innovation project. According to The Guardian, in the time that it will take us all to read this sentence, the global building industry will have poured about 19,000 bathtubs of concrete. And this therefore means that at an incredible rate, infrastructure is rising, trees are falling, and not enough space is being left for planting trees, vegetation, and other greenery. And so it falls upon us, the engineers, therefore, to find innovative ways of bringing the greenery back into the gray concrete structures that have come to dominate our modern architectural landscape. So with that regard, today I will look at a review that I recently did on the Nairobi Expressway green wall, and I termed it, How Green Are Nairobi's Green Walls? Rightfully, because we're going to try and ask just how sustainable is this green wall, and according to the various design mechanisms of the green wall. To start us off, I'd like us to look at the definition for what is a green wall. A green wall is a vertical structure that is intentionally covered in vegetation and often includes an integrated irrigation and fertigation system. It also includes the careful selection of plant species with special consideration given to plants that will not only survive but also thrive, and this is very important. We don't want our green wall to survive, we want it to thrive. And with that regard, we'll look at this presentation in 3 different aspects. Firstly, we'll look at why green walls. Why do we need green walls in our cities? Why do we need green walls in a city like Nairobi? Secondly, what are the different types of green walls that we can adapt? And thirdly, we'll look at a specific type of green wall called the modular living wall, which is the green wall that has been used in Nairobi. So why green walls? Currently, as we speak, the total ongoing network coverage for road projects in Nairobi stands at a whopping 939.6 kilometers. To put this into perspective for you, this is about the space that you would require to plant 1 million trees. And so while this is something that is unique to Nairobi, this is something that you would find across the different African cities that you, ladies and gentlemen, are representing here today. So at a very first rate, our cities are experiencing increased levels of deforestation, air pollution, congestion, traffic waste, noise pollution, dust, and the list goes on and on and on. And so why do we need green walls? Green walls are here to counteract this negative effects of the infrastructural growth. So we're having pollution mitigation. We will have biofiltration, which will reduce the dust that is coming as a result of this infrastructure, noise reduction, improved sense of well-being, improved aesthetics, reduction of urban heat effect, and again, the list goes on and on. And one of you might ask me, why do we need green walls while we can just plant trees and grass to counteract the effects of the infrastructure? Remember, the infrastructure has taken the space, the horizontal space, and so what we're left with is the vertical space. And one major advantage of green walls is that it utilizes the vertical space. So with regard to the types of green walls that can be utilized in a city like Nairobi, we have on one hand green facades and on the other hand living walls. Green facades are typically made of ground cover that cascades and is rooted at the base. So what we mean is that the plants should grow from the bottom up, so it should grow down there. And because it's a plant that would be growing upward, we would need to use plants that have self-cleaning mechanisms, and this would include circle roots, twining tendrils, and the like. Green facades are further split into 2, and these are the direct green facades and indirect green facades. Just as the name suggests, direct green facades grow directly onto the wall, and they present a danger in that they can destroy the structural integrity of a wall. On the other hand, indirect green facades would be grown a distance away from the wall using support structures such as wire meshes. And then the other type of green walls that we have are living walls. Living walls, unlike green facades, they are made of pre-vegetated materials. So these plants cannot be grown at the base. They have to be grown somewhere else, for instance, in a nursery, and then they're transplanted onto the wall. And just like green facades, they're also split into 2, and these are the continuous living walls and the modular living walls. And from these photos, I hope that you can see the difference. Like I said, direct green facades grow directly onto the wall, and then the indirect green facades, they grow on support structures. Like as you can see there, that green facade is going on a metal wire mesh. And then on the other hand, we have the continuous living wall. It's called continuous because the plants are transplanted onto one panel, and so these plants would grow in a continuous manner. But as for the modular living wall, each plant is planted into a specific container, into a specific different container, assuming what would be called a discontinuous growth. For the purposes of this presentation, I will only look at the modular living walls because this is a specific type of green wall that has been used in Nairobi. And special attention will be given to the deviations that have occurred on the Nairobi Expressway green walls as compared to the conventional standards. So we shall look at this modular living wall in 5 different aspects, and in each of these aspects we'll look at what is the conventional way of putting up the modular living wall, what has been done in the Nairobi Expressway green wall, and what does this mean in terms of the sustainability. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of these deviations? And these are the 5 given characteristics that you see there. So to start us off, we should look at support elements. Modular living walls can take up several forms, and that is trays, vessels, planter tiles, or flexible bags, each with different structures. And those 4 characteristics given there are the conventional way of doing things. On the Nairobi Expressway green wall, all 4 of these given characteristics have been fully met in that the planter tiles are made of plastic, They have a flat back fixed to the wall, and they include a space in which the plants are inserted individually, and the tiles are fixed with screws, which can be considered mechanical fastening. And so because of that, then the green wall experiences the advantages of using this particular characteristics, and that is the easy repair of the tiles themselves, as well as replacement of any diseased plants on the wall. With regards to vegetation, there are two specific types of plants that have been used on the green wall, and that is one, the nasturtium, whose scientific name is the Tropilium majus L, and secondly, the zonal geranium, whose scientific name is the Pelargonium exhorturum. And with regards to vegetation, there are four major characteristics that have to be followed, or that is the conventional, according to the conventional standard, and those are the four detailed there. Firstly, we have the instant greening effect. Like I said, for modular living walls, or rather generally living walls, unlike green facades, they have to be pre-vegetated, and this has been fully met on the wall. As with regards to the other three, and that is the sunlight, water demands, and the local climate, this would change depending on the local climate of a place and the different microclimates for the different green walls. On the Nairobi Expressway green wall, this is an area of extreme shade. And the plants which have been selected, according to existing studies, both of these plants do best under sunny conditions. But they can survive in partially shady conditions. But remember, we said a green wall should thrive, not only survive. And then as it regards to the water demands, both nasturtium and geranium require ample water supply in the initial stages of growth, but once established, they can both tolerate dry conditions. But remember, in a green wall usually is in shady conditions. It is not exposed to the rain, and so all the water that gets into a green wall comes through irrigation. And so if you have a plant that requires ample water supply, then it's a downside for your green wall. And lastly, local climate. They are both annual plants, and they can and should thrive throughout in a favorable climate. And fortunately, Nairobi's mean annual temperature of 19 degrees Celsius holds these conducive conditions. So one would ask, why would the creators of the Nairobi Expressway green wall use plants that can at best partially satisfy the given conditions? Firstly, these plants are light in weight. Additionally, they're relatively cheap to acquire and propagate, and this is because they're relatively cheap to propagate since they thrive in Nairobi's climate, and then they're both annuals and only require replacements after about 7 months, making the maintenance slightly financially relieving. However, that given, we know that plants on the green wall would face higher stress on the wall than on the ground, and so the long-term survival of both the nasturtium and the geranium on the expressway green wall remains highly uncertain, and that therefore means that the entire success of the green wall therefore remains as uncertain. Thirdly, we have growing media. Modular living walls contain growing media that is usually a mix of organic and inorganic material. And that aspect of the inorganic material, all the soil, or rather the soilless material, is required to improve water retention capacity, permit oxygen diffusion, and allow for gaseous exchange. However, on the Nairobi Expressway green wall, the growing media is fully composed of red soil mixed with manure, and this therefore means that we lack the soilless media. And of course, this presents certain challenges. Since, remember, this soil is containerized, it lacks the normal characteristics of soil profile on the ground. So during irrigation, the water gets oversaturated, but then between irrigation periods, there is not enough water retention capacity. And this therefore means that the health of the plants on the green wall is put at risk, and by extent, the entire well-being of the wall is put at risk. The only advantage of using this pure soil is that it leverages on costs. Again, it's leveraging on costs because attaining, or rather acquiring the soilless material is not as abundantly occurring as soil itself, and so it's an expensive material to acquire. And then fourthly, we have irrigation. Water on a green wall is usually supplied in the form of integrated irrigation systems, which usually involves a recirculating system of inbuilt pipes throughout the green wall that pumps water from a built-in tank. However, on the Nairobi Expressway green wall, irrigation is carried out once every 2 days using water tankers and by use of manual labor. And again, this will have its advantages and disadvantages. First, the disadvantage is that this leads to water wastage and unbalanced moisture levels for the plants. You see, with an integrated irrigation system, you'd make use of things like sensors, and you'd be able to avoid unbalanced moisture level for the plants. Again, an integrated irrigation system often comes with an integration fertigation system. Therefore, the lack of that leads to the lack of circulation of additional basic nutrients such as fertilizers. The only advantage to this, once again, it cuts on costs with the additional electricity consumption of integrated irrigation systems being avoided. And lastly, we have drainage. Vessels containing the plants should be perforated at the bottom to favor free outflow of water by means of gravity. And with regards to the back wall, the adoption of an air wall, which could be a naturally ventilated air layer or a sealed air layer, is a common means of keeping humidity off the back wall of the modular living. However, on the expressway, both of these have not been considered at all. So there are no perforations and there is no air wall. And of course, this will have certain disadvantages. One, it exposes the concrete back walls to damp conditions, and this can lead to the degradation of the concrete, and then it can also lead to the buildup of water within these small containers that we talked about, and this can lead to the rotting of plant roots. Again, the only advantage to this is that it cuts on costs, since a relatively lower quantity of materials would be used to put up a green wall without the air layer. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is what the expressway green wall was supposed to look like, or this is what it looked like just a few days after it was put up. However, unfortunately, this is the current state of Nairobi's expressway green walls. This is what they look like now, based on the different characteristics that were not well followed. So what are some of the conclusions that we can draw from this? Firstly, the expressway design deviates so much so from the said from the given characteristics that the said benefits are called into question. If we were to quantify it, out of the 5 characteristics that I started, 4 of them were either wholly or partially not fulfilled. And in all 4 instances, there is a major overlying theme, and that is money. So in an attempt to utilize less money for the maintenance and implementation, the overall sustainability of the wall was hampered. And so that means that there's a big disparity between the financial sustainability and between the financial sustainability and the environmental sustainability of this green wall. But as engineers, it is our work to look at problems that are there in our society and try to come up with solutions. After all, we have come here, drawn from different African cities under one theme, and that is accelerating sustainable infrastructure in Africa. And so on that basis, these are some of the recommendations that I gave. And while these recommendations are specific to the expressway green wall, I think that in some way they can also be used they can also be drawn into other sustainable infrastructural methods. And so firstly, we need to incorporate the conventional procedures of putting up green walls and accommodating the accepted practices rather than deviating from them. Secondly, research is needed in order to identify novel and economic ways to enhance the longevity and performance of green walls. And lastly, we need to develop affordable water retention materials, plant selection criteria, drainage strategies, and effective irrigation techniques to enhance the environmental and monetary sustainability of green walls in Nairobi, as well as other African, not just East African cities with comparable climatic conditions. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. I would like to especially acknowledge the Ethiopian Association of Civil Engineers for accepting my paper, and I'd also like to acknowledge the Institute of Engineers Kenya, especially our president, for all the help and support that I have had from them. Thank you so much.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's 2 things, young and woman. She's 21 and she's a woman. She's not even done with college. My Kenyan friends, yes, I think we need to celebrate both young ladies. Yeah, you can stand because we're going out to lunch anyway, so be nicer. Congratulations. Thank you all so much. With this, I think we just head out to lunch, and then we'll have coffee and come back in 45 minutes to 1 hour maximum. Madam Minister, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for such a wonderful session, and at last, a very, very informative and refreshing session from Kenya. Thank you so much. Now we'll head out. Maybe we can take a large group picture here up front with the minister before she leaves. Just the presidents of the associations only and the chairpersons. Madam, I'm sorry. So we will be back at 1:30. So only presidents and chairpersons, please. You don't want to make it too big. Some of you can come up here. And I think the 2 young engineers, you must also join this picture. The 2 young engineers. The 2 young engineers, quickly, please. The 2 young engineers. Now, let's make it look nice. No, someone. If you're not presidents, chairpersons, please, can you go up? Can you go up, two of you? Yes, go up, please. No, she I invited. The young engineers I invited. Aman, it's okay. The young engineers I invited. Like, can we make room, please? Yes. Just so the Madam President is not covered. Can we make room, please? Can you go up? Go up. Come forward a little bit. Yeah. All right, I think this looks okay. Sir, can you fall back a little bit? Sir, can you fall back a little bit so you don't cover people? Yes. And give her room there. Give the lady a room, please. This looks okay? Camera, this looks okay? All right. Sorry, good. Wait, please, wait. Just hold on. Just hold on. Yes, we're good. Sorry. Why not Ababa? And now say Addis Ababa. There we go. Perfect. Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy your lunch. Engineer Jonas, please lead them to lunch.
Thank you very much.
Sorry. The coffee is going to be served upstairs on the terrace. Ladies and gentlemen, coffee is going to be served upstairs on the terrace. We'll be back here 1:30. Thank you.
you.